Welcome back, stretch it out, to another episode of Sound of the Loons podcast brought to you by Line Health. I am your host, Zarek, and we are back with the first ever guest we had on the Sound of the Loons podcast this year, Mr. William Trapp. Welcome back to the podcast. I can say that now to somebody. Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Quickly, let's go into it. We got a few days off. CBA mandated 5 days. Where did the Trapp family go?
Trapp fam. It's rare that we have like a very clear schedule of days off, so it was nice to have it given to us in a time in preseason where we're like, all right, we can plan. So our youngest turned 1, and
Congrats.
Thanks. We were going to have like a little birthday party. Family couldn't come up, so we decided to go up to Canada. Mm-hmm. We went to the Great Canadian Rockies in Banff, which was stunning, although I will say traveling with 3 children is not it's not very relaxing, but amazing place, beautiful. I know you've been with Liz and seen it at a completely different time, but in the summer it was stunning, dude. Stunning.
So did you guys fly or drive?
We flew and then drove, but from Calgary, we flew into Calgary and it's like an 1.5-hour drive. So throughout the trip, we had at one point each child threw up in the car.
The rental probably.
Yes, exactly. To be fair, the hotel was amazing. They helped us immensely, but yeah, nothing was like particularly close. And when you have a 1-year-old or about to be 1-year-old on an airplane and you're delayed at the gate for an 1.5 hours, mama just runs out of tricks. So yeah, we found a way around it and we managed to have an unbelievable time. But yeah, there's never a shortage of chaos.
Yeah, of course. We've done that before. We've driven to Banff and we've also flown through Calgary.
Yeah, sure.
Basically, you get there, you rent a car, you drive out.
Yep. Pretty drive, by the way.
Incredible.
It's beautiful.
Incredible. Yeah, so Liz's family is in Saskatchewan, which is 4 or 5 hours from Calgary, right?
East,
so
right?
Yeah, so east. So they met us in Calgary, and we basically drove over together. Incredible. Lake Louise, you went, right?
We did Lake Louise, and then the other one, Moraine Lake, which are both just like, it's a joke. It's a joke, honestly.
It's like the Windows screensaver background.
Legitimately.
Right?
I mean, you see like all the Instagram and all that stuff, and then you go there and you're like, the photos don't do it justice. Yeah. You're staring at this just like majestic mountains, this blue glacial water, and you're like, what are we doing here? But so cool. Grizzly bears on the side of the road, like just bananas. The place is bananas.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's weird because we finally did, like you said, have a CBA mandated thing months in advance. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows it. We have to have off. So normally we never ever get that much time with that much headway, right? So you're
sure.
We can go plan something. Mm-hmm. You don't have to necessarily stay in Minnesota. So that's great that you got to get away. Spend some time with Liesl. Get the first year has gone by quick.
Too quick. I mean, you're now on baby number 2, so you kind of are seeing the first fruits of that. But yeah, the fact that she's already a year old, it's just like I remember last year trying to figure out if we're gonna fly to Seattle for the game or like are we gonna wait until the Dallas game. She came the night before the Dallas game. I spent the night at the hospital. Came the next morning to the game in Dallas. So yeah, and then you fast forward 12 months and here we are.
Boom.
Yeah,
just like that. So speaking of fast forwarding, we're actually going to rewind.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to do a little half-season recap. Obviously, we've played 18 games, so for the smart Alex in the comments and stuff, yeah, we're not actually at the halfway point. But we've played half the season, and we're going to look back. We've had some high moments, we've had some low moments, but overall, the team's been in a pretty steady place. Just give us your general thoughts, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into some of the potential tactical things. But yeah, what are your half-season thoughts on MNUFC?
I think we're in a position in which don't want to say we expected, but we kind of we felt we were capable of achieving, being in the top 3 in the Western Conference and challenging to go higher. I think we've had some very strong performances and some performances in which we can learn from and grow from. So I think where we started in the beginning of the year and thinking about, okay, here's where we want to be at the mid-season point. I think we're okay with it, but I know that all of us have that feeling of there's more to give. So I feel like that's a good thing. I feel like it's a healthy place to be where you have that tension of, well, we've gotten results, we've been able to do it home and away at times, and now there's like another 2 or 3 levels that we can get to that we've seen through performances. It's not like we're reaching for something that we haven't seen, but things that we can look back on in certain games and say, let's do this a little bit more, and that's going to set us up for success in the next 16 games.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad place to feel that there's this untapped level that we can hit when we're in third place. You know what I mean? It's one thing to say that when you're in the bottom half of the table and you're going, man, we got to fix some things and get some points and we got to get into the playoff hunt. But to know that we still have a level or 2 that we can achieve while also achieving success and getting results at the same time, for me is great. So you talked about some of the things that we can improve on, and obviously our style of play is pretty clear. Everyone knows how we're going to play. What are some things that you think we've done well to get us to this point, and maybe some things that we can look forward to improving going into the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think if you just look at the identity of the team, set pieces, defending deep, counterattack, quick attacks, those are all parts of just our core identity of what we are this year. And I think we've done those things extremely well, being very, very difficult to break down, ruthless at times on the counterattack. Those are things that will continue to be a part of what we are. I think the next evolution is looking at maybe some games like at times against Miami, at times against even more so against St. Louis, and times against Seattle, where we were able to keep the ball, progress the ball into the opponent's half, and then have our time to rest on it a little bit. So I think the more we can kind of buoy ourselves by having the ball, will just be more difficult to play against, because not only are we very disciplined defensively and extremely hard to break down, but now we have to make teams that maybe aren't as good as us defensively have to defend. So that for me is where we've seen it in games, but let's do that more. And it should be something where we don't need to worry about it or stress about it. It's like, we get to go do this thing. This is fun, because playing with the ball is more fun.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of a cat and mouse, right?
For sure.
We've shown that we can play direct and be dangerous in that sense, and set pieces. Everyone, we're not hiding that.
Yeah.
The MLS announcers, it's starting to become a thing, and everyone's talking about it. But I think when you can have a little bit of a cat and mouse, meaning, okay, you're going to sit off and maybe take something away, and you're going to give us this, then let's show that we can succeed doing something else. So now we can be a little bit adaptable to whatever the opponent might throw at us. And I think we've shown glimpses of everything. It's just a matter of now using this break to get through those moments, to put some of that together. And I think for me, getting to see different players now that we have some that gone with the national team is great, because we're starting to see, Owen Gene step in and really kind of evolve as a player and grow as a player. Anthony Marcanic obviously has stepped in. Joe's gone, and we got Wes, and we have Kelvin back in. His ankle was a little bit, but we have these guys that are stepping in for roles that are really fulfilling them and growing. And speaking of Owen, for example, someone that the fans are getting to know, and you've been next to him now for a few games. What's it like? Tell us, how's your French?
French is not great.
What's it like playing with a player who's, so young? I don't know when's the last time you played with a guy who
21 years old. Yeah. No, I think it's funny you say 21. You're like, it doesn't feel like he's 21 at all. I think his maturity is awesome. I think his humility and just how he plays. We've talked about this off camera and just in the locker room a bunch of just like, he's just in the right spot. Yeah. He just does the right thing. And that seems like at times something you can take for granted, but it's not easy to do. It's not easy to be in the right positions, to make it look smooth, to retain the ball as well as he does. And then just be that calm, composed, steady presence that he is. So I think from maybe his first game coming in, obviously before maybe Hassani's injury was more of an substitute role, but now that he's come in as a starter at times, he's been stellar.
Very steady for someone so young, and to have that level of composure. He has a good feel.
For sure.
Right? You can see he has a good footballing feel. He's not out there as much of a general kind of you are in terms of leading the troops and taking the guys forward and being a voice, but he's just this steady presence that doesn't seem to get too high, doesn't seem to get too low. He's very emotionally calm for being such a young guy. But what's it like for you in our system when you're the core of that, right? You're literally in between the center forward and the center backs. You're sitting there and you have the game. What's it like in a match, whether, the last, 10 of a game where we're closing it out or maybe pushing a little bit? What's it like for you to have the role that's so centrally in our unique system?
What's it like? I don't know, man. I just think it's just you play the hand you're dealt. And for me, the more I can, it sounds so cliche, and I hate to just say this, but the more you can help your teammates, the better, right? Oh. So I look at the couple games, the road trip, Vancouver, tough game away from home, but a lesser team loses that game. Yeah. And what we can do in those moments when maybe on the ball, most of us aren't having a great day. We're playing a good team that doesn't lose at home. Then now it's about our body language. Now it's about how we can just find a way to get through this game without losing, right? And that doesn't sound the most exciting, but there's going to be games where you have to suffer. And then you converse that with the game against Seattle, where it's I'm staring at Nico and I'm just screaming at him, and he's looking at me and he's screaming, and it's just, you find over time of our career, you look at contrast Owen and I, Owen's 21. He hasn't been doing this as long as I have, right? But you know this, you get into this point where you're well, here's just what I see, and here's what I feel like guys need at this moment, and what I need too, right? And then you just act on it. And I think for me in my role, it's honestly, it's just fun. It's fun to just go out there and play to win the game. Yeah. It sounds like the most basic thing, but when you've played not to lose, you lose. Yeah. When you play to win the game, maybe you don't always win, but your chances of winning are better. So I think I've really tried to channel that as best I can through my behaviors.
And I think it shows when you look at our team and what basically is the identity of our team. You look at you, Boxy, Dane, Tanny, Kelvin, that core, that's that spine of the team. They have a lot of those similar traits. Sure. And to be able to suffer, to cuddle the struggle. Chance Myers used to have
the struggle.
He used to have a hoodie that said "cuddle the struggle." Good. And at times, I was watching that Vancouver game and it was tough because we couldn't get rope-a-doping. But those were the games that I honestly enjoyed the most because you had to lock in as a team. And if you didn't, I think last year there's points where we would have lost that game in the middle of the season last year.
Yeah, for sure.
This time last year, that game was
What game wouldn't we lose in the middle of summer last year?
We would have definitely, But that's the evolution of our team, and to suffer together. Yeah. And whether you're speaking French, English, Spanish, Korean, no matter what it is, you're doing that together. And I think that's why I've coined the term "we is greater than me," because I think that really sums up our team. Mm-hmm. And, now this was the point of last season where we got some new guys in, Kelvin and Joaquin, and we really took a step forward. Do you see that hopefully being the case this season? Obviously, we haven't really talked much about summer transfers, but that's always an impending thing that's always looming around and to bring in new players. But now we've looked back a little bit and know how we can grow in terms of potentially a little bit on the ball, a little bit in terms of that just putting those performances together from minute 1 to minute 90. Yeah. Going forward now, looking forward, how do you see the team evolving, or if not, just continuing to do the same and just refining some of those things?
No, I don't think it's going to be the same because you always have to evolve and adapt. I think the difference I feel this year is just there's not the desperation of, wow, there's nothing we can do right now to seemingly win a game. Yeah. Right. And that's where we felt last year, where it was anybody coming in is going to be a savior, right? Because it had gotten to this point where we were in dire straits. I don't feel desperate in that way. I think we feel like there's things to improve, like I touched on at the beginning, and there's things we can be doing daily to get there. And as you add players, you look at the guys we brought in, guys like Julian, that add to the group, that will inevitably come the summer transfer window. And then from there, it's then taking those steps like we talked about. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the opportunity we have. Yeah. It's the chance we get to evolve and adapt. And I've always heard, and I do agree with this, the most adaptable person in the room is the most powerful. Mm-hmm. And I think we're a team that has shown pragmatism and adaptability. And the more we can embody that daily and then embody that in each game, the more Houston sits off us and says, here, take the ball. We go, great, let's do that. Versus you saw early in the season, Toronto gave us the ball and we were like, oh, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, that was the first game I think a team really said, you know what, we're going to sit back and let you have it.
And sometimes those games come as, like, I don't think Toronto necessarily was like, this is what gives us the best way of doing it. It's just like, we got some lazy guys that aren't going to defend. So, like, it's just what it is. So teams are smart. They watch that. They say, okay, we're gonna try the same thing. So I think those can be looked at as negatives or gaps, or you can look at it as like, well, here's the thing we get to improve upon it. And I think we've shown marginal gains on that, and now we can continue to take those steps.
Whether you're looking for a team outing or an office celebration, be sure to check out our group ticket opportunities at MNUFC.com. For parties of 10 or more, you can get 30% off single game tickets and avoid extra fees. Grab seats in the bowl of Allianz Field or rent out a premium space with amenities and an unmatched view. Visit MNUFC.com for more information. So that you say these marginal gains and just improving on that's something that's in your wheelhouse. I mean, Hassani used to talk about you being probably one of our best, if not our best possession player. Just, you know, the way you came from, built through Columbus, and that's in your
our
DNA.
time in Akron too, right?
Yeah, that's in your DNA. Mm-hmm. And is that something where to impart that? We obviously have really good football players too, right? You know, the likes of Rob and Joaquin and Owen, and you know, you can go down the list of the guys in the middle of the pitch. Are those conversations you're having on the field? Are those conversations you have with Coach Ramsey where you're talking to split through ideas, maybe getting a feel for what players the center backs might like? You know, how do these conversations and ideas go? Obviously, not diving into too much detail, but is that something I know from being a leader in the locker room? I know you're very proactive, but I'm curious if you can give the fans a little bit of insight in terms of just how you go about solving some of those issues on the pitch. Is that on it, during, before, after?
Yeah, I think it's funny. It's like a character exercise every day. And that's like, let me explain. In the sense of every day you have to connect to who you are and what makes you successful and be courageous and brave in that thing. Because if you can't lead yourself, then you can't lead other people, right? And I think for me, it's tapping into, I'm going to want the ball now. And we had this conversation just the other day about like, go get the ball. Go get the ball. Just go get it. And then things happen because now you're starting to create relationships and you can move the defenders around and now gaps open. And then you get Rob on the ball facing forward and you get Joaquin on the ball facing forward to be what they're great at, you know? So for me, it's really sometimes shepherding the, this is what I should do. This is the discipline side of me to be like, well, this is what's being presented. And this is what needs to happen for the group to be successful. And it's funny we're having this conversation right now because I think today in training, for example, we worked on some of these things and it was more about like, just go get it.
Yeah.
Kind of a little bit like dogs chasing cars, which isn't my favorite thing always. But I think it's important that when you see the thing, take responsibility to fill that gap versus, well, he should be doing that and he should be doing that and pointing the finger because that doesn't end up helping anyone.
Yeah. Well, you're someone that's running towards the flames to try to fix the problem as opposed to potentially running away from it, right? So I think that the more we can have guys that want to help solve the issue, eventually there's going to be growing pains with that.
Sure.
But I think I'd rather have guys be proactive in making mistakes than being reactive and kind of hiding behind
1,000%.
hiding behind those shells. And we talked about some of these things going forward now, and I love that because for me, we have a very good structure in place. I think Coach Ramsey's done really well giving guidelines in terms of how we want to play, but also giving the professionals, the veterans, the guys who have experience, a little bit of room to kind of go and solve issues that might present itself on the field because ultimately you're on the pitch, right? You know, as a coach, we're not on there. You have to go see the game and have to get a feel for it.
Also, the game changes second by second.
Yeah.
So you can have, and we went through this a lot in Columbus of like, we would draw up the game plan and at times it was like, as we drew it up, we would score goals that we did on patterns and you're like, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Like, how could I not trust this? But there were times where the opponent like doesn't do that. So now what do you look like from my point earlier about like the adaptability perspective of, okay, well, Eric can't tell us what to do at every moment. He's not playing PlayStation, right? Yeah. So we have the autonomy, and I think he does a very good job of allowing that responsibility to be given to players and we have enough smart guys, let's be honest, to fill holes and move in positions that make sense. So I think, again, the next evolution is guys taking that on and saying, I'm going to solve the problem. Yeah. And we're going to solve it together also, right? We are going to do it rather than, like you said, the me or the I. So, I think for me, it's fun to do that. I know you as a player, you loved, like, how can I solve this problem? Yeah. This is fun, right? Like, they're running here, he's doing this, I'm going to do this and see what happens, right? Yeah. And there's going to be times, this is why we train, because there's going to be times where it's going to not work out. But the stakes are low. Yeah. Do it. And that's what we tell kids when they're trying to learn things too, right?
Yeah, you want to mess up doing the right thing.
Of course.
And you don't want to mess up at being scared, right? Yeah. Like we talk about, I'd rather you overhit a pass than just try to, slowly play one back to the goalie and it gets picked off goal.
For sure.
Like for me, make a mistake doing the right thing, especially in the passing patterns, because that essentially you'll train better habits in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Play to win the game, baby.
Exactly. And we've been training this week. We've had a long break, and now we're going to transition into our first game back against a good Houston team. Mm-hmm. Tough result there. We rotated a bunch. Midweek game, actually. It was a Wednesday game as well. Yeah. In Houston. We play them now. Just give us your initial breakdown thoughts. Obviously, they have a very, very clear identity as well with the way they play. Yeah. Thoughts on Houston? Yeah,
I mean, contrasting styles. They're a high possession team. I think I look at the game we played there, and regardless of who was playing, I think we leaked in. The goal right before halftime was tough because I think if we get to halftime, we're in a different mental space of we got reinforcements coming in probably in the next 15 minutes, and we can find a way to potentially win the game. But that's another game in which we weren't good enough in how we were solving problems on the ball because they allowed Morse to have the ball, for example. They were very low pressure. So I think there will be opportunities in this match for us, especially being at home, to exploit that, and then also just be confident at the fact that we're ready to go. Yeah. This is the next push for our season, and when we're at home, we're going to start winning games. Yeah, no, exactly. I'm excited personally. I'm excited for every game, but especially with the lead into this, it's been a while since we've played a game. Mm-hmm. I get jacked up on game days. It's not the same, obviously, on my side of things, but I'm really excited to have you guys go back out there. But lastly, where do you get all these sayings from? You're like a walking quote machine. It's unbelievable. Is it books? You got articles? What do you mean,
I want to go back and write these down. Like the thing, everything you're saying is incredible. Well,
dude, we've talked about this being roommates last year and the year before. Like I've done like the mental performance like stuff is really interesting for me. It's something I really enjoy and has helped me a ton. But you start to see. It's just silly stuff, bro. I just it comes to me, It just comes to me, bro. But I enjoy it. And then honestly, the more you do it, the more you see it in yourself, and then you're able to diagnose things for other people too, which is kind of funny. And you don't want to do it without kind of their permission. You don't want to be like, yo, you're doing, no, that's not how we roll. Exactly. No, it's not like that. It's more just, I try to say it, and then I say it more for myself. And then as I say it for myself, people kind of oh, that's interesting. That kind of applies to me too. And then if they're interested in the conversation, we have that conversation. But I find that the more you do that type of work, the more it just kind of starts to permeate out of you.
It becomes part of you. And it's funny because I think there's not a stigma, but it seems cliche and what can you really get from it? But if you apply yourself to the mental side of things, and this is what I said, part of my retirement thing was, I wish I had talked to someone in a variety of different ways, sports, mental conditioning, therapist, whatever it might have been, because there's so much you can gain from that in terms of your thinking and the way you approach a game. And even when I talked to Devin has really focused on his communication on the pitch. Yeah. I said, I used to talk a lot because it reminded me what to do. Mm-hmm. If I say step to the team, I have to do it as well. Sure. If I say slide, I have to slide. Sure. If I say Will, slide left, it means I have to go right because I have to cover your weak side. Mm-hmm. So I did it to reinforce those things. And then obviously with you, it's more philosophical things.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Diving so deep. Sure. But, like I said, thank you so much for coming back and really kind of dissecting the first half of the season. A lot of good things we can definitely build on, but I'm excited going into Houston and winnable game at home. Hopefully we can go out and have a good performance and start off the second half of the season in the right way. But again, thank you so much again for coming on the Sound of Loons podcast. Brought to you by
back to back, baby.
Maybe you might be the
Am I going to be
third time guest.
yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Maybe towards the end of the season. But if not, thanks a lot.
My guy.